Today I'm going to be talking about Machine Head's infamous third studio album, The Burning Red.
To see, believe this in me, this pain that I feel deep inside. At the time we come together, be all we could have had it now, so do it now or never arrive. Fall asleep, the freeways fall from here, split half the night, just drink a beer. From this day on shall be the words.
So, The Burning Red. Today we're talking about Machine Head's infamous third album, The Burning Red. Now today is its anniversary. It turns 19 today. Now, I was thinking of an album I wanted to talk about today, or something I wanted to discuss, and I wasn't sure on what I wanted to do. I went online and I realised that I saw Rob Flynn and Machine Head had posted about this. This is the 19th anniversary of The Burning Red, their third album. Followed, obviously, the classic album, Burn My Eyes, and the follow-up album, the second album, The More Things Change. Now, these two albums are very groove metal, very 90s sounding, very riff-based, and I really enjoyed them. The first album, Burn My Eyes, is a classic. It's a great album, live staples such as Davidian and Old, with some great album tracks as well, like Blood for Blood and I'm Your God Now, Realise, and things like that. Then it was followed up by The More Things Change, also a great album, not as good as Burn My Eyes, but one that I really like still. Still got songs played live, like 10 Ton Hammer, for example. Again, really good album tracks on that album. There's like Bay of Pigs and Spine and things like that, and Struck a Nerve. That's a really good album as well. So, why did Machine Head make such a drastic change when it comes to The Burning Red? Now, Rob Flynn discussed this recently, and he said they felt like they were sort of getting backed into a corner. Because More Things Change was pretty similar to Burn My Eyes. So I was thinking, why are we're getting backed into a corner? So Machine Head made a drastic change on this third album, The Burning Red. Image-wise, sound-wise, production-wise, everything. And it was a pretty drastic change. So a lot of fans were turned off by this. I myself like this album, but I know a lot of people don't, which is fair enough. And this is a big change all at once. A lot of people saw this as trend hopping and selling out. Others saw this just as positive change. But The Burning Red sort of drifts away from just the groove metal side of things. I mean, it drifts into, there's a little bit of hip hop in there. There's a lot of nu metal in there. There's a little bit of almost sort of stoner, sort of psychedelic stuff in there. And this is a really, really raw and powerful album. And as you can tell from the image, it was a big drastic change straight off the bat. And this is an album I actually really liked, just because it was outside of the box of Machine Head, but it was still very raw and very aggressive, and I really like it for that reason. So The Burning Red, released in 1999 during the sort of new metal takeoff period. The same year Slipknot released their debut album, and Korn were already big by then and things like that. So The Burning Red drifted into that sort of territory a little bit. And it's a lot more of a raw sounding album than the first ones, than the first two. So The Burning Red, different album already, so let's get into the tracks and discuss them, what I think. So we have an intro which is called Enter the Phoenix. Enter the Phoenix is very atmospheric, it's very quiet, and it's pretty atmospheric, and it just transitions nicely into the heavy first track, which is Desire to Fire. Now this song, a lot of people will probably put off instantly. The verse is straight up hip hop, like rap metal. We have a real groove metal riff at the start, pretty heavy. Everyone will be jumping in a gig to it. I've seen them play this song once actually, and it was good live. So really heavy riff straight off the bat. And then we go into these hip hop verses, these rap metal verses. Now this is where a lot of people probably turned off from the album. Because it was like, well, what's all this change? This is a very different opener to Davidian or 10 Ton Hammer. Davidian, obviously, and Machine Head, the really popular Machine Head song, a classic for Machine Head. Very intense, very straight to the point. Very heavy. Same with 10 Ton Hammer. Although that's a little bit slower, there's still some really heavy parts in that. Now, Desire to Fire, although being really heavy, is a different opener. It's not so sort of just straight groove metal. There's different influences. There's nu metal, there's groove metal as well. There's also some hip hop in there. And I feel like this is a very clever way to open the album because it introduced a change straight off the bat. Desire to Fire for me is a very strong opener. I think that it's very, very groovy, very heavy. I like the rap parts on it. It's got a massive sounding chorus. I didn't discuss that actually. The chorus is huge sounding on this song. With the Dare to Fail section, it's just awesome. Then it goes for a heavy section towards the end. So yeah, Desire to Fire for me, really, really strong way to open the album. We then go to Nothing Left, which I found out today that Joey Jordison recorded the screams in the backing vocals for this song. I didn't know that. Obviously Joey Jordison, Slipknot and Vimic and Sinsaism. Whenever that Vimic album comes out, that'd be great. So Nothing Left was it slows the pace down a little bit after Desire to Fire. Desire to Fire is very straight to the point, pretty heavy, very groovy. Nothing Left until the end slows it down a little bit. It's still pretty heavy, but it's not as fast paced, it's not as intense, and it's got a big chorus. We've got Nothing Left for Nobody Else section. It still cruises through. It's a decent track, and then it slows down for the bridge. And it builds up massively into the chorus, like sped up, and it's just a massive sounding, groovy, heavy song. And yeah, Nothing Left, decent track, but it's not as good as the next track, which is still played live every gig, I think. The Blood, the Sweat, the Tears. Now, the Blood, the Sweat, the Tears is a very, very good song. I can see why it's still played live today. People still go mental for it. Kicks off with a Dave McClain drum intro before going into a pretty heavy riff, and it slows down a little bit, bit of a groovy bass line, but it's just got a huge anthemic chorus, and it's all about the blood, the sweat, the tears, a tribute to the strength built through the years part. So I've got a massive sounding chorus, and it's just a pretty straight to the point, 4-minute anthemic song, and I love it. I think it works really nicely where it is. Also, talking about pacing of the album, I think the pacing of the album is fantastic. Because the next song, Silver, helps to bring the pace down a little bit, bring it in a little bit more. And this song is where I start to see the sort of the Catharsis influence, because Catharsis is a good I actually reviewed Catharsis. If you want to check it out, I'll link it up in the description. But Catharsis was an album that I feel like focused on choruses a lot. It started to show on Is There Anybody Out There, the single that it did. It focuses more on the chorus, in my opinion. It's sort of the chorus is like the chunk of it, and then everything's sort of built around it. I feel like Silver does that. And I like Silver. I think this is a really good song. It's quite a slow sort of song to start with, but then there's this huge, I'd say it's hard rock more than metal, this huge hard rock chorus with the Take My Hand thing, and yeah, wicked song, really cool song. About 3 minutes, it's simple, it's just a no bullshit, straight to the point, simple song, and I like it. I think it works where it is. It helps to bring the pace down a little bit, and yeah, it's good. Next is the song with the infamous video, the video that a lot of people laughed at. Hell, even Rob Flynn and the band laugh at them now. This was From This Day. Now, From This Day is a song they play live occasionally. I've seen them play it twice. Yeah, I've seen Machine Head 3 times. They've played it twice, and he doesn't rap it as much now, but it's still a banger live. And you can see why it's a banger live, because From This Day kicks into a really groove metal riff. It's sort of groove metal but nu metal. It's like a mix. It kicks into a real cool riff, and then for the verses it's quite simple. Guitar parts are very simple, with Rob Flynn rapping over the top of them, and then it kicks into another big sounding chorus. This song really has the chorus as its focal point. And it's great live. It's huge for sing-alongs. It's very anthemic. The Time to See, Believe This in Me, this pain that I feel deep inside. It's a huge sounding chorus, a chorus that I love. Before it goes back into another nu metal sort of hip hop verse, and I really like it. This is the last sort of rap influence we hear on the album, really. But yeah, it's a really good track, and despite the video, it's a good song. Next is Exhale the Vile. Now, they played this last time I saw them, which I was sort of sat there like, holy shit, they never play this. Exhale the Vile is a cool song. This is where you sort of see the more raw, not psychedelic, raw sort of stoner vibe to it. Pounding drum beat from Dave McClain. before going into a real slow, like not real slow, but slow, sludgy riff. With Rob Flynn really pushing it and growling over the top. But then it breaks into a chorus which is nearly all clean sung, and it works really nicely. It's like that juxtaposition. There's got the real heavy section. It sort of glides into the clean section and then just goes back to this real heavy section again. The song's pretty slow paced, but it's just sludgy, it's heavy, and I really like it. It works really well with this raw, angry production that the Burning Red has. The guitars, I like this album actually because it's different to some of the other Machine Head albums. The guitars don't sound perfect, they feel a bit muddy and they feel sludgy and dirty, and I think it works on this song quite well. Exhale the Violet's a cool song. Next is a cover, which a lot of people don't like, which is of The Police, which is Message in a Bottle. Obviously, a pretty old song, and a very different sounding song to what you'd expect Machine Head to cover. Now, for me, this is one of the weakest Machine Head covers. I mean, they've covered Battery by Metallica, which was amazing. They covered Hallowed Be Thy Name, which is one of my favourite covers of all time. What else did they cover? They've covered quite a few things, I think. They covered The Sentinel on Onto the Local Special Edition, which was a good cover. This cover, it's not that great. The thing is, I don't skip it. I quite like listening to it, but it is one of them songs that you sort of listen to and still go, yeah, this isn't that great. I mean, it kind of works. I mean, I'm probably being a bit harsh on it. I can never make up my mind what I think of this song, this cover even, but yeah, it's an okay cover. I mean, I like the fact that they put a very different spin on the original song. I think that's important with covers. I feel like that can be lost a little bit. I think if you're going to do a cover, it's important to change it up a little bit and put a different perspective on it, like Type O Negative did with Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Slowed it down, added bits to it, really changed the song. I feel like Machine Head do that Message in a Bottle. They speed it up a bit at times, make it sound a lot more desperate, a lot more angry. And I do quite like this cover actually, but it's not the best cover Machine Head have ever done. It's not the best rock on the album, but yeah, it's an okay cover. Next is a really heavy song. This is where, to the people saying they sold out, this is where I call bullshit. The next song on the album is Devil with the King's Card. Now, I almost feel like this is about ex-guitar player Logan Mader, who played on the first two albums and departed before this album was recorded. I do feel like this is about him with the lyrics, but it's very, very raw and aggressive. And I feel like it has that sort of raw aggression of the first two albums, but in a very different sense. It's not in the fast-paced blood for blood style or Bay of Pigs. It's in a very more slow. It's a very slow song, I think, for Machine Head on this album. It's slow, it's raw, it's aggressive, and there's lots of intense shouting vocals over it. And I think this is a cool song. I never used to be that into this track, but the more I've heard it, the more I've grown on it. And I like this song, Devil with the King's Card. It's great to work out to. It's very aggressive, and it's pretty heavy, and I like it. And it shows that sort of raw production can work on things like this. And it's got more of that stoner vibe, I think, to the song. This is followed up by I Defy. Now, I think this riff was actually written by Logan Mader before he left, if I remember correctly. It was the only riff he wrote for the album before he departed and got replaced. I Defy, probably the weakest song on it, other than Message in a Bottle, but it's a decent track again. It's got a really, really good sounding chorus, pretty heavy again. A little bit repetitive maybe, but I Defy, decent track, but it doesn't blow you away. Next is a really personal song. This is where the album takes a very dark turn for me, and the last two tracks are two of the best on it, in my opinion. We have track 11, which is called 5, which is a very dark and personal song for Rob Flynn. Now, this was, I think, if I remember correctly, this was intended to be the last song on the album, and I could hear it being the last song of the album, but it fades into The Burning Red, the title track, which we'll get to in a sec. But the song 5, very personal to Rob Flynn. It's about when he was age 5 and got molested. So it's a very personal, very angry song. You can tell by the lyrics. You molest and destroy just a 5-year-old boy. It's very raw. And this is what I mean. This raw, angry sounding production really works on this song, because it just helps to capture that raw energy, that pain, that anger of it. And 5 is a very good song because it's very deep, it's very aggressive, and you certainly get what he's on about straight away. But at the end of 5, there is an outro. It's sort of a very atmospheric outro. It's Rob Flynn when Rob Flynn shouts 5, it's sort of echoed, and it fades into the next song, The Burning Red. Now this is really where you see the sort of stoner psychedelic influence on this song. Here you can even see a bit of Rob Flynn's Cure influence on this song, I think. Starts off with a little guitar part and Rob Flynn singing clean. Now I think that this, if I remember correctly, 5 was meant to be the last song, but he wrote this song afterwards, in all that anger, to just put a full stop on the album, and I think it's a fantastic ending. It's got a really simple drum beat from Dave McClain, using an electronic drum kit, I think. I don't see why it was an electronic kit. I mean, I kind of get it because it gives a different vibe to the song, but I feel like the live version from Hell Alive's a great album, the live one is up there. Hell Alive version I think is better. I think that because Dave McClain's kit sounds so nice, but I think that where he's hitting the snare really aggressively, really hard even, with just his pedal, it's going do 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 do. I feel like the Hell Alive version's better because I feel like there's more. So you feel the aggression in the playing. I feel like it's lost on this version because of the electronic kit. It just feels a bit strange. But the Burning Red, fantastic song to end the album. It's very sort of quiet. It's very psychedelic. It's a bit psychedelic. It's very sort of stoner almost, and it's a very different sound from Machine Head. It's got that big departure. This is where we see the departure from Machine Head. You wouldn't have heard this on the other albums, that's for sure. I mean, the quietest we got was probably I'm Your God Now, and that sort of erupts at the end. But the Burning Red, it stays pretty secluded. It goes into a big sounding section at the end, but it doesn't really, burst into anything that much, which I kind of like, and I feel like it's just a beautiful ending to a very heartfelt and angry album. And the Burning Red is a really, really great song. Lyrics covering the themes of like suicide and depression. It's a really nice end to the album. So yeah, that's the tracks from the Burning Red. So what do I think of the album? I think that the Burning Red is a very strong album, despite what a lot of people say. I really enjoyed this album. I enjoy listening to it still. I haven't heard it in a little while, but every time I go back to it, I enjoy it. And I feel like it's not the weakest album in Machine Head's catalogue. I'd give that to Supercharger. But this album is very good, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, the same as I gave Catharsis, just because they had the balls to take it somewhere else, and it's not a terrible album at all. I think that some of the tracks on there are absolutely awesome. I'd say my favourite tracks on here would be Desire to Fire, Blood, the Sweat, the Tears, Silver, From This Day, Exhale the Vial, and The Burning Red, and 5. It's just a fantastic album, and it's not as great as the Burn My Eyes, but I feel like The Burning Red was a move that Machine Head needed to make, because it allowed them to change. Fans expected things to be different, and it was again on Supercharger, and then again after that. I mean, every album's been different ever since. I mean, Through the Ashes and The Blackening, both heavy, but The Blackening's a lot more progressive. Onto the Locust, songs feel very different, and then we have like Bloodstone and Diamonds, where it's sort of a combination. And then Catharsis, where the songs are more simple. So, but every album was felt very different after this. So I feel like this album was a move that allowed Machine Head to make different albums. And yeah, I like The Burning Red. I think it's a strong album, and it'd be 20 years old in a year today. So yeah, if you like The Burning Red, let me know. If you dislike The Burning Red, let me know. If there's any albums you want me to review and whatever, feel free to comment them or whatever. My Twitter is @TylerQ2001, all the links in the description and everything. I've got other reviews on this channel. I recently did Tremonti. I'm going to start doing live streams as well, where I discuss various topics in metal and the news and everything. So yeah, I've got lots of things going on, so please subscribe. I'd love for this channel to grow, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching.